Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Takedown, where we tackle everything you need to know about ONE Championship, the new era of martial arts. I'm Carlo Pamintuan.
This is where we witness real-life superheroes unleash their power. Join us as we follow the stories of the best of fighters of this generation. I'm Meggie Ochoa. The world's best female martial artists will take center stage at the biggest female mixed martial arts tournament. Tomorrow night, we will get to witness the first all-women's event in history. ONE Empower will feature female pioneers and rising stars, including our very own Filipina fighter, Denice Zamboanga. The top-ranked contender will show her might against 5th-ranked Seo Hee Ham in the quarterfinals of the Women's Atomweight World Grand Prix. Ham is a 14-year MMA veteran and with a 23-8 record. Other participants include former ONE Kickboxing and Muay Thai Atomweight champion Stamp Fairtex, Alyona Rasihina, Meng Bo, Ritu Fogat, Isuki Hirata, and Elise Anderson. The winner of the Atomweight Grand Prix will get a chance to battle for the title against current champion Angela Lee.
On the 3rd of September, Jingnan defends the ONE Women's Strawweight World title against Michelle Nicolini. And the first round of the ONE Women's Atomweight World Grand Prix, all in one epic night. ONE Championship, a new era of martial arts.
Wow, I cannot wait to watch that. I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow. Here's a preview of what we can expect from the undefeated Filipina fighter, Denice Zamboanga. Let's watch this.
I'll keep on rising.
8 wins, 0 losses. Undefeated #1 contender, Denice Zamboanga, is hungry to finally get her world title shot by winning the ONE Atomweight World Grand Prix.
Since nung last fight ko, naging consistent ako sa training ko kasi hindi ko alam kung kailan yung magiging schedule ng Grand Prix. So gusto ko, kung dumating man yung araw ng Grand Prix, ay ready na ako.
She is the Philippines' biggest hope for a women's mixed martial arts world title. Her 3-fight win streak in ONE Championship has seen world-class athletes crumble under her power, including former 2-time world title challenger, May Yamaguchi.
Nung maraming tao nagsasabi na wala nga daw akong chance na manalo kay May, nag-training lang talaga ako ng maigi para ma-prove sila na mali sila.
The impressive win earned her the #1 spot in the rankings, and she was slated to challenge for reigning ONE World Champion Angela Lee's belt. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Lee's pregnancy, her shot at gold was delayed indefinitely.
Mas na-trigger ako para mas mag-training ng gusto para dito sa Grand Prix, para magkita kami sa cage and makuha yung belt sa kanya.
Her first bout is against South Korean mixed martial arts legend, Seo Hee Ham, who presents the biggest challenge of her professional career.
Malaking halaga sa akin na matalo ko yung most experienced fighter sa buong card namin. Kasi mas madali nang harapin yung mga susunod na nakakalaban.
It's Denice Zamboanga versus Seo Hee Ham on the 3rd of September at ONE Empower.
You can catch Denice Zamboanga at ONE Empower at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, September 3 on ONE Sports and ONE Sports Plus.
Meggie, we all know that in the time of the pandemic, you always have to stay ready. You are a champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, of course. But how difficult is it, to not know what's up next, but then you have to push yourself in training?
Carlo, it's really difficult because you have to push yourself and you have to give everything that you have, but you're uncertain whether tomorrow will actually come. You don't even know if the fight will push through, but you have to give the same amount of effort. So I'm really impressed with the fighters, with them, taking it out there and just giving everything that they have to prepare for their fight tomorrow.
We all know that so much can happen in the world of the pandemic. pandemic, diba, you have to go there, you have to quarantine, you have to pass tests. So everything, the mental toll, how tough would you have to be mentally just to overcome all of these challenges and present your best self into your matchup?
You know, even without all of these challenges, you already need mental toughness to be able to compete in MMA. And all the more with these additional challenges, of course, it's extra difficult. But I really see that these fighters are so ready, and I cannot wait to see them perform out there tomorrow.
It's been a journey filled with sacrifices for Filipina fighter Denice Zamboanga to get to this point in her career. The 24-year-old has been training away from home in Thailand. She also had to leave her day job to pursue her MMA dreams. But all that hard work did not go to waste as she made her debut with ONE Championship in 2019 as an undefeated MMA fighter. Zamboanga's pro MMA record stays perfect with 8 wins and no losses. I got to speak to Zamboanga ahead of her fight, and she explains what ONE Empower means to her. Already supposed to be the top challenger dun sa women's atomweight division. Number 1 contender ka na against Angela Lee. Were you surprised na napasali ka dito sa ONE Women's Atomweight Grand Prix, or nasabi ba sa'yo kung ano yung plano talaga? Because I'm sure you were already gearing for a world championship opportunity, and now you have to go through, a series of matches bago ka makalaban for the title.
Ayun, nung nalaman ko yun, yung before na sasali nga, na magkakaroon na ng Grand Prix because dun sa nangyari. Sa akin parang nung una hindi ko pa siya masyado matanggap kasi syempre 'di ba parang nag-expect na yung mga tao na lalaban ako ng title match. Tapos biglang na-delay, magkakaroon ng Grand Prix. So parang mas maraming challenge muna bago ka makapunta dun sa So feeling ko ito yung way ni Lord para talaga ma-improve pa talaga yung skill ko.
So yung makakalaban mo, very experienced athlete in Korea, Seo Hee Ham. Ano yung masasabi mo tungkol sa kanya? Nag-umpisa na ba kayong mag-scout? How are you preparing to match up with her?
Ako, nung nalaman ko na nag-sign siya ng ONE Championship, sa ONE Championship, sabi ko parang meron ng parang pinakamagaling sa isa sa mga pinakamagaling na fighter ng Atomweight. Sabi ko, hindi ko ma-explain kung ano yung ko na parang medyo kinabahan ako na parang medyo excited. Tapos nung nalaman ko na may Grand Prix, tapos siya pa yung una kong makakalaban. Sabi ko, lang galing. Ako kagad, ganun. Sa akin, kasi sobrang galing niya, ganyan. Sobrang top, like world, high-level striker siya. Sa akin, malaking challenge to. Itong darating na laban namin.
Yung respeto mo sa kanya, I'm sure nasundan mo yung career niya before she signed sa ONE Championship. Yung respeto mo sa kanya, does it help you in training? Kasi kailangan mong itulak yung sarili mo to do more, to do things harder, because you know that your opponent is no pushover.
Sa akin, lahat naman ng opponent ko, talagang nire-respeto ko. Pero hindi pa rin mawawala talaga na kailangan mo igihan sa training, mag-hard work, kahit sino pa man kalaban mo.
Of course, Denice, ONE Empower, it will be the first time the promotion will feature an all-women fight card.
Yes.
Napakalaking bagay for women's MMA. But syempre, for you specifically, napakalaking bagay for Filipina MMA fighters. How do you take this responsibility? Kasi ikaw yung magre-represent sa buong Pilipinas, and ikaw yung may possibility na may stage to be able to inspire a lot of younger Filipina, athletes to pursue their careers.
Sa akin, sobrang laking tulong and sobrang laking motivation na ako yung magre-represent sa bansa natin, which is Philippines. Sobrang laking tulong siya sa akin kasi iba yung hindi siya as pressure sa akin as siya motivation na ako yung magre-represent ng Philippines dun sa one of the best like event. Like, gagawa ng history yung ONE Championship. Ako yung kasali doon. So, para sa akin, gagalingan ko talaga para mas marami pang ma-inspired na female or inspiring female athletes.
Lahat ng MMA fighters na nakakausap natin, lagi nilang sinasabi, they visualize the fight, they visualize how it will happen. Can you give us a glimpse of how do you think, you know, your matchup will happen without giving away too much of your game plan, of course? Sa tingin mo, ano yung mga possibility na mangyari in your matchup?
Sa akin, sa tingin ko po, sobrang hindi siya madaling laban. Kasi pareho kaming matagal nang hindi lumalaban, tapos pareho kaming gutom sa laban, like that. So, feeling ko hindi siya madaling laban para sa aming dalawa. Madugo siguro.
All right, Denice, again, we thank you for joining us here. And we hope that you stay safe and stay healthy, and we cannot wait for your matchup.
Yes, thank you po. Thank you for having me.
Maraming salamat, Denice. All right, Denice Zamboanga will be competing in ONE Empower. That will be tomorrow at 7:30 on ONE Sports and ONE Sports Plus. Meggie, nung nakausap ko siya, she was about to take her RT-PCR test before she traveled to Singapore, where the fights will be. But representation is so important, especially for female mixed martial artists. We know that there is not a lot yet, but do you feel that an event like this will push younger athletes to try the sport of mixed martial arts, you know, at least try it out in their younger years?
Absolutely. I think that this is such a big deal, especially for aspiring female mixed martial artists. And it really sets the stage, and it opens up the opportunities and gives an even wider reach for mixed martial arts. And I can see that this is really going to make a big difference. And I'm quite excited to see what will happen because of this.
There was supposed to be another Filipina fighter on the card. Unfortunately, All Sims matchup was cancelled. Kaya si Denice Zamboanga lang ang tanging pambato ng Pilipinas sa ONE Empower. Now it's time for a quick timeout, and when we return on the Takedown, Pinoy legends Brandon "The Truth" Vera and landslide Eduard Folayang talk more about the next generation of talent in the ONE Championship scene. Don't go away.
10 years of action, 10 years of history, 10 years of ONE Championship. The greatest women's tournament in MMA history kicks off at ONE's first ever all-women's event on the 3rd of September. All 4 quarterfinals will take place on the same night, with the winners moving one step closer to a world title shot at ONE Atomweight world champion Angela Lee later this year. ONE Championship, a new era of martial arts. Years of action, 10 years of history, 10 years of ONE Championship.
Counter right hand, eats a right to the nose. There's a right to the jaw from Zamboanga.
Zamboanga has beautiful takedown defense.
Beautifully executed down the pipe.
Denice Zamboanga made a statement here tonight.
This is the one we've all been waiting for. This one should be dynamite.
ONE Championship, a new era of martial arts.
Welcome back to the Takedown. I'm Carlo Pamentuan. Now, Brandon "The Truth" Vera has stayed at the top of the ONE Championship podium for 5 years, but the Filipino-American veteran fighter faced an obstacle as he lost the ONE Championship heavyweight title to Arjan Bular back in May. And now he's determined to reclaim the title back for the Philippines. The Truth also says he has high hopes for fellow Filipino fighter Denice Zamboanga, who he believes will make waves in the MMA scene as well. You were a champion, a ONE heavyweight champion for 5 years. Can you just describe how difficult it is to stay on top of the mountain knowing that every challenger out there, every ONE heavyweight out there was gunning for you and you had to push them off to stay at the very top?
Alam mo, it's very motivating kasi wala kang choice. At the drop of a hat, somebody could be calling you out and you need to defend your title. And I didn't just keep the title just for myself. It wasn't just for me. It was for us. Para sa atin lahat. It was for the Philippines, man. Like, I've been wanting to bring the promotion to the Philippines. I've been wanting to make sure that there was a world title champ over in the Philippines, man. It was more than that. It was pride. I got to walk around smiling all the time because I knew I was doing what I could do sa ating mundo, representing the Philippines in the best way that I absolutely could. So, man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being the champion. And what I'm super excited about now is climbing that mountain to get our title back.
And ONE will be holding the first all-women's event in history, ONE Empower, where Pinay fighter Denice Zamboanga will be facing Seo Hee Ham. As we've seen with Heidelin Diaz, our weightlifter, and Nesty Petesio, our boxer in the Olympics, Filipina athletes can be world-class. How hopeful are you that there will be a Filipino ONE champion in the near future?
Hopeful, ha? Hopeful. Hoy, magkinig kayo, ha? Denice Zamboanga is going to end up being a world champion. I don't know what weight class, but that girl is badass. And she's mean. She's super mean. Taka muna, ang bait niya talaga sa personal. But when she's training, when she's fighting, wala, iba si Denice talaga. So impressed with Denice. I am so impressed with Denice from day one to where she is now. I cannot wait to watch her. And the only reason why I'm sad that Denice is fighting in the same weight class is because she's lined up against, sooner or later, Miss Angela Lee, diba? Knox. I don't want to see that fight. I love both of them.
But I don't think they share the same love with each other as you do for them.
So mas lalo na, oh my God, bakbakan talaga yun. That's gonna be a crazy one.
But for the development of women's MMA in the region, how big is it for ONE to have an all-female fight card?
You know, I think it is very important that they had this. I think it's very empowering for women around the world to see this. And I think it's a beautiful thing that all women around the world can look at ONE Championship and look at all the different weight classes and all the different backgrounds from all the different women and athletes that we have and pick one that might be closely related to them in their region or their lifestyle, diba? Ang ganda, I absolutely love it. I'm so excited for this card to happen.
And speaking of excited, we are also very excited to see you back in action again. Thank you so much for the time, Brandon. And, you know, enjoy training, enjoy being a father, and we'll see you soon.
Maraming salamat. Ingat, guys. Thank you.
Now, for Team Lakay's Eduard Folayang, who has been with ONE Championship for a decade now, retirement is out of the picture. The former lightweight champion is finding his momentum once again after losing to his Chinese veteran Zhang Lipang back in August. The Baguio native looks back at his career so far and gives advice to the next generation of fighters, including Denice Zamboanga.
Looking back, in 2011, September, a young 26-year-old Eduard "Landslide" Folayang debuted for ONE Championship. I can't believe it's been a decade, Eduard. Ganun na katagal yung pananatili mo sa ONE Championship. looking back, how happy are you with the way that your career panned out in one championship so far?
Siyempre masaya ako. Of course, within that decade of competing in one championship, I never expected na ganito siya lalaki talaga. That becomes one of the biggest martial arts promotion in the full world. And in that span of decade, naging two-time world champion tayo. Alam mo yun, yung journey talaga na pinagdaanan natin, it's been a roller coaster, pero yung mga lessons na natutunan natin and yung mga taong na-inspire natin dito ay siyempre yun yung parang medal natin looking into the young athletes kagaya na Joshua, na Jeremy, yung mga upcoming athletes pa na sumusunod sa yapak natin, and they are their champion na, di ba? So I'm very happy to hindi ko sinasabing I have accomplished siya. I'm very happy to where it goes, kung ano yung pinuntahan ng mga sakripisyo natin, yung paghihirap natin, at saka yung, syempre, of course, yung pag-i-enjoy natin dito sa sport na to. And I hope na mas marami pang mga Pilipino ang, alam mo yun, mai-unleash nila yung potential nila, yung greatness nila in this sport. Kung hindi man dito sa sport na to, o in those areas na kung saan they are talented.
Eduard, speaking of one championship milestones, there will be another one, no? As ONE will hold its first ever all-women's event in history in ONE Empower. May Pinay na lalaban si Denice Zamboanga. We've had a lot of heroes, of course, including yourself, become champions. Sonorio Banario, of course, Brandon Vera. Siyempre si Joshua Pacio is still a champion right now. Kevin Belingon, some of your teammates have really, fought for flag and country sa one championship. But in terms of female MMA fighters, gaano ka ka-hopeful that one day magkakaroon ng Pilipina na champion sa one championship?
I'm very hopeful. Siyempre, nakita naman natin yung performance ni Denice. Magaling siya. And of course, she's the number one contender, di ba? Yun nga lang, ginawa yung one Atomweight Grand Prix. Siguro it's a challenge pa for her to unleash kung ano yung mas sa kanya.
We'll take this short break, and when we come back, the spotlight will be on the main event for ONE Empower. We'll get a preview of the title bout between Jingnan Xiong and Nicolini. Keep it right here on The Takedown.
Of action, 10 years of history, 10 years of one championship. A world title showdown headlines ONE's historic all-women's card on the 3rd of September. Can China's first ever MMA world champion, Xiong Jingnan, hold on to the ONE women's strawweight world title? Or will Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Hall of Famer Michelle Nicolini seize the crown? ONE championship, a new era of martial arts.
You are still watching The Takedown, where we give you everything you need to know about ONE Championship, the home of martial arts. I'm Carlo Pamintuan, together with Negi Ochoa, here to give you a preview of ONE Empower, which takes place tomorrow night. Now, all roads lead to the main event of this historic night, which sees ONE women's strawweight world champion Jingnan Xiong defend her title against a legendary Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter in Michelle Nicolini. Both fighters are on a roll heading into their high-stakes showdown, with Jingnan Xiong winning 10 of her last 11 fights and Michelle Nicolini defeating 4 of her last 5 opponents. The 33-year-old Xiong's last fight was a unanimous decision victory against Tiffany Teo in October last year, while the 39-year-old Nicolini has not competed since a unanimous decision win against Angela Lee back in July of 2019. Xiong has held the women's strawweight belt since defeating Teo via knockout back in January 2018 and has made 4 successful defenses of her title. 10 of her victories have come via knockout or submission, and the Panda looks to add Nicolini onto that list. But it will not be easy, as the 8-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion Nicolini has not lost since November of 2018 and has won 5 of her 8 matches via submission. So who will walk away with the title at the Singapore Indoor Stadium? Will it be the defending champion and the knockout artist, or the challenger and the submission specialist? We will find out tomorrow night. Meggie, so excited about ONE Empower. We've talked about this. The first time ever in a decade of ONE Championship that it's all women. It's girl power for this particular fight card. Ikaw, saan ka bang matchups pina-excited? Of course, kabilang na dyan Zamboanga, Filipino
Yes.
competing, and the main event.
Of course, both are actually one of the most exciting for me. One, because the main event, it's actually a grappler against a striker. So parang medyo may hugot. Kasi I am a grappler,
Yep.
and I've looked up to Michelle Nicolini because she is a legend in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And of course, si Denice Zamboanga, kasi I've personally trained with her. I know how strong she is, and I cannot wait to see her kill it out there.
Si Michelle Nicolini was a jiu-jitsu fighter first, no? Napakarami niyang jiu-jitsu world championships. I'm sure that you're also, looking at what she's accomplished, and hope for it for yourself as well. But transitioning into MMA at 39 years old, how much does she have left in the tank to be able to challenge the strawweight champion of ONE Championship?
I would not underestimate her, and her age, I don't think it's a disadvantage, because I think she is a very mature fighter, and I think that she has gained so much experience from Jiu-Jitsu, and napaka-technical niya, so I know na sobrang matatranslate niya yan sa MMA.
It's an absolute pleasure to pick the brain of someone who actually competes in jiu-jitsu about a jiu-jitsu specialist. Now, the title fight between Jingnan Xiong and Michelle Nicolini is just one of several fights on the ONE Empower card. The quarterfinals of the Atomweight World Grand Prix will also take place, which includes our very own Denice Zamboanga. The main card of ONE Empower begins with a kickboxing bout between pound-for-pound kickboxing great Anissa Mexen, who makes her ONE Championship debut against another decorated fighter in Cristina Morales. After that, the explosive kickboxing fight, the ONE Women's Atomweight World Grand Prix, which is the biggest ever female mixed martial arts tournament, will take place with 4 quarter-final matches. The quarter-final bouts include Japan's Itsuki Hirata battling Elise Anderson of the United States, Meng Bo of China facing off against Ritu Kogat of India, Ukrainian Alyona Rosohina squaring off against Stan Fairtex of Thailand, and Denice Zamboanga, who will take on veteran Seo Hee Ham of South Korea. And now the winner of the tournament will get a title shot against new mother and current world champion Angela Lee, who will be keeping an eye on the Grand Prix. The historic night will then wrap up with the main event between Jingnan Xiong and Michelle Nicolini, with Xiong's strawweight title on the line. If you are a fight fan, this is certainly an event that you do not want to miss.
Now, before we watch this world's best female mixed martial artists take center stage in ONE Empower, we look ahead to ONE Championship's next event, which will take place later this month. ONE Championship will end the month of September with a bang at ONE Revolution on September 24, which has 3 world title fights on its main card. In the main event, ONE lightweight world champion Christian Lee puts his title on the line against veteran Ok Rae-yoon of South Korea, who is looking to pull off another upset after a victory over Eddie Alvarez in his last match. Another world title on the line is the ONE Bantamweight Kickboxing Championship held by Kapitan of Thailand. He looks to defend his belt for the first time and win a third straight knockout victory as he faces Muay Thai and Kickboxing World Champion Mehdi Zatout. Filipino MMA fans will want to see the third title fight on the main card as it features our very own ONE Strawweight World Champion Joshua Pacio, who is looking to retain our last ONE world title against Yosuke Saruta of Japan to complete their trilogy of fights. There are plenty more exciting fighters in the lead card and main card at ONE Revolution, such as ONE Featherweight World Champion Martin Nguyen and Filipino superstar Lito Adiwang, also from Team Lakay. So, mark your calendars for this unforgettable ONE Championship event.
Again, 3 exciting world title fights on one night, including our very own strawweight world champion Joshua Pacio will be fighting on September 24. So if you are a fight fan, you should mark your calendar because that is certainly an event you do not want to miss. And as mentioned earlier, it is ONE lightweight world champion Christian Lee looking to take down another contender in the division in Ok Rae-yeon of South Korea in the main event. Then, ONE Bantamweight Kickboxing World Champion Kapitan of Thailand stakes his belts against Mehdi Zatout of Algeria and will look to go for another knockout victory. Then finally, Joshua Pacio will carry the hopes of our country when he looks to defend the Philippines' only remaining world title, the Strawweight ONE World Championship, against a dangerous foe in Yosuke Saruta of Japan. Are we going to see any of these titles change hands? Tune in on September 24 to find out.
And speaking of Joshua Pacio, the 25-year-old world champion has been hard at work preparing for his upcoming title defense against Yosuke Saruta at ONE Revolution. But Pacio will also be watching when female fighters compete tomorrow at ONE Empower, which includes Denice Zamboanga. In this interview, he talks about the importance of ONE Championship holding an all-female event, what it proves, and how it can serve as an inspiration to other aspiring Filipino fighters and female fighters. And let's watch this.
Finally, ONE will be holding its first ever all-women's event in history in ONE Empower.
Yeah.
Tapos may Pinay na lalaban, si Denice Zamboanga against Korea's Seo Hee Ham. For you, how important is it that ONE Championship is giving itong female MMA fighters their own platform, no? Walang lalaking lalaban, puro babae, just to showcase that, female athletes can also, do well in a show and attract a lot of attention. Gaano to ka-importante for the development of younger Filipina MMA fighters?
Ito napaka-importante kasi yung lalaki palagi yung nakikita natin na lumalaban, no? So, hindi yan pang babae, sinasabi nila karamihan. So, makikita natin na women can do it also. And sometimes women can do it better minsan. And yun, may papakita natin na hindi lang pang lalaki ang MMA. So, panglahatan, kahit na mahirap, kahit na gruel yung training sa MMA, bloody, women can do it also. And mabibuild din yung confidence ng mga youth na mga babae na kapag pinapanood nila ito.
And that is a wrap for us here on The Takedown, where we give you everything you need to know about ONE Championship, the home of martial arts. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Pamintuan.
The stage is now set for the first ever all-women's event at ONE Empower. So join us as we watch the world's best female mixed martial arts fighters take center stage tomorrow night in what should be an electrifying night. I'm Maggie Ochoa. Good night.